Hi there, I'm here today with David Brown, one of the favourite people I like to talk to, because we just, as David says, we go off on a riff. And today we're going to be talking about coaching, what coaching is and what it isn't. David is a coach, obviously, and if you want to know anything about David's qualifications, why he got into coaching, the kind of coaching he does, and the results he gets from people and all the rest of it, just go to his website and you'll see it all there, and we'll put a link to that at the end of the interview, so all the information you need will be there. So the reason that we're doing this is that David and I got into a conversation recently about why some people are resistant to coaching, people that we know would benefit from it, but they don't seem to see it. And so we thought we'd explore what other people might think about coaching, and what coaching is and what it isn't. So we'd better say hello to David first.
Hello, great, thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
That's okay. That's okay. So, David, we were talking the other week about people who want to have some kind of change in their life, and saying that most people who come to you for coaching have already recognised this. That they have said to themselves, something needs to change.
Yeah.
And so they approach you by a recommendation or something like that to see how you can help them.
Mm-hmm.
So that first feeling of wanting to change can bring up all sorts of other problems, can't it? Because when one person decides to change, stuff happens to the people around them without them necessarily being aware of it. So can we just talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, I think that there is this, people often come to me because they feel stuck, basically, and their patterns of behaviour have kept them in this particular place for quite a long time, and they're getting frustrated by it, they're getting despondent about it, they're not getting the results and that they want and expect and probably deserve. But what tends to happen is people change or make changes, but it's often on the surface level. And what I try and do is to get people to kind of drop down deeper into themselves and to kind of look at some of the root causes of a lot of that stuff. And when you do that, there is some kind of internal resistance because generally people don't like change, even if it means change within themselves, and even if it means that it's going to be for their benefit. So we have to address some of that and make people aware that that resistance to change can be something that they have to overcome and that they have to look at. So there's that internal resistance to change. And then what we were talking about last week was the external resistance to change, which is this thing that the people around you, friends, family, work colleagues, perhaps clients, if you're self-employed, they want you to be the person that they've come to know and love, even if that isn't necessarily the person that you want to be and the best version of yourself that you want to live through. So there's also this external resistance to change that people have to find a way of trying to overcome as well.
Okay. So when we start like that, it's a wonder anybody changes at all, really, isn't it? But people do, obviously. So you mentioned there that one of the things you have to do is sometimes find out where these feelings are coming from. And so I guess for me that brings up the whole issue of how coaching is different to therapy. I'm rewatching The Sopranos at the moment, so we've got we've got Tony with his therapist, which is like a psychiatric kind of exchange of non-judgmental comments and all that kind of stuff. But she's bringing up why he feels like that, why he has this relationship with this person and that person. So is that the kind of thing you do?
Very, very short answer to that is really no. And so, like you say, therapy is often about looking back. So you're aware that you feel unfulfilled, you're aware that you feel unhappy, that you might feel blocked about something or stuck. And so what therapy often is looking into the past and trying to unpick and unravel what it is that's going on. Whereas coaching is kind of taking where you are, and because that's really the most important thing. You've got to kind of own up to where you're at this moment. And then once you're kind of, your feet are on the ground, then you're in a position to begin to start to move forward. But you don't want to move forward with the mindset of, oh, I feel really depressed, and oh, poor me, and I feel like a victim. And you don't want any of that. What you want to do is create a picture and a vision and a kind of an energy of how you want your life to be, and to really tap into that, so you're really resonating in a very positive way, and you're very clear about what your goals are, and you're very clear about the person that you need to be to make that happen. So it's very kind of like you're reverse engineering it. And then once you become the person that you need to become, then all of that stuff starts to happen very naturally and organically. So it's not as hard as you might picture it, because you're halfway there. And the role of the coach, as far as I'm concerned, is to support someone through that, and to hold them to that vision, and champion them in that vision as well, so that if they do lose their footing a little bit, if they do lack that confidence, if they do have that wobble, then I'm there to kind of catch them and remind them, and to bring them back into that much more positive and supportive mindset.
Okay, that's great. So you're saying that people can change without necessarily understanding what made them the way they are in the first place?
Yeah, I don't think that that's necessarily essential. I think some people like it. I think they like to know. But it's a very kind of intellectual exercise. And although there is some benefit in that, it's much more, I think, about, that awareness of where you are now and who you want to become, and bridging that gap, rather than bridging the gap backwards.
Yeah. So really starting from where you are now and looking at what you want to be or where you want to go. And that's the part that you do. Okay, great. But also just to say that doesn't mean that therapy is wrong. If I can be a little bit transparent, I've had my fair share of therapy, but it doesn't, and it has its place and it has its benefits. And so if I feel that someone's come to me and I feel that actually, no, looking back is going to be to a client's benefit, then I will tell them that. But I'm not qualified to go there in any kind of therapeutic sense. But I'm more than happy to, talk about some of those issues and look backwards a little bit. But it's always with a vision to how can we bring that to the present so that we can put the future. Yeah, okay, that's great. But I'm guessing that even at that level, people will start to get very emotional when they think about where they are now and where they want to be, and I guess in some cases how difficult that change might be.
Yeah.
So what happens? Again, I've got this picture of the therapist pushing a box of tissues at someone when they've kind of broken down. So how do you prepare people for that, and how do you help them to get over that? Because my reaction if someone starts crying is, okay, let's just stop talking and talk about something else.
So I kind of lay the groundwork to that right at the beginning by saying that emotion is part of being human, and if we want to live our lives more fully, then we need to learn to embrace, the ups as well as the downs, so that we've got this, rather than being in a very kind of narrow band of, everything is all lovely and safe and feel secure. If we want to grow, if we want to be a better version of ourselves, then we have to challenge that a little bit. And the more we challenge that, then the more we begin to feel those emotions. So there is that thing, and that can be quite scary for a lot of people. So I work very hard at making sure that people understand that when we speak, that it's all totally confidential. I work hard at building trust. I work hard at making people feel safe and secure that they can explore those things. And ultimately, it's about understanding that we go at the client's pace. So I'm not going to force anything on anybody. I'm not going to encourage them to go somewhere where they don't want to go. I might invite them because it feels like that's going to be an area where they're going to grow and develop and benefit. But ultimately, the responsibility and the control is always with the client. It has to be that way. Otherwise, it feels like you're being bullied. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a bully.
Yeah, okay. So you mentioned going at the client's pace. So does that mean that there isn't a set period of time that you would enter into a coaching arrangement with someone? You know, is it that kind of thing that people could come to you for years and years, or, you know, even not get to the point where they feel that they've done and they can manage without you?
Again, a great question, and it all obviously depends on each situation. But usually what I do is I suggest that with a client, a prospective client, that we'll work together for sort of an initial 3-month period with a view to maybe working for 6 months. And again, it's always on this review basis. So it's about, you know, having clear goals. It is about being able to measure them so that you know when you've achieved them. But usually that happens within a 3 or 6 month period. And then very often what will happen is once you've achieved your initial goals, then suddenly you realize, well, actually now I want to achieve these goals. So then we go on another roll of 3 to 6 months, and then another one and another one. So I've had clients that I've had for 3 months. I even have a client that I've had for 3 years. And they're both working with what they feel comfortable with, and they're taking it in the direction that they want to go with it, and going as deep as they want to go.
Yeah. Okay. That's really, really interesting, actually, because I didn't have any clear idea of that, you know, that sort of time scale at all. So and is it possible for people to change really quickly? Do people have sort of eureka moments, breakthroughs?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think what tends to happen for a lot of people is they feel stuck, and what they tend to do is think about things. So it's all really heady, and they're trying to work it out. And it's Einstein that said, the mind that creates a problem can't solve the problem. So what we do in coaching is, in a way, we get you to change your mind. And the way that we do that is by not getting you locked into what your old thinking has been, but we get you to tap into another part of your brain, your intuition, your imagination, your creativity, your or whatever other parts that we might be able to tap into. And when you tap into that, whole new ideas begin to present themselves. New perspectives come up, new possibilities come up, creative ideas come up that you've never had before. And most people have experienced that at some point in their lives, just naturally. It's kind of, you know, those aha moments that people have, those things when new ideas have been presented to them, and suddenly this kind of whole vista opens up in front of them that they never realized before. And so coaching is about that, but it comes from the client. It's not me giving advice. It's not me telling them that they should try this or that they should try that. It's me working with the mind to get them to come up with all of that stuff for themselves.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's completely empowering. There is no reliance or dependence upon me. That's the one thing that I really never want. So that ultimately the client can get to a point where they feel, yeah, this is all me now, and they can go off and, you know, continue to create the life that they want and evolve it and change it as they see fit.
Yeah, okay. And does anybody ever bail out? You know, that it's just too tough, the change is too hard. I can't do it. I'm just going to put up with what I've got.
Yeah.
And what do you do there? I mean, do you see that as that's a failure, or do you want to rush after them? No, come back, I can help you.
I think in the past I used to. I used to do all kinds of bargaining to try and help. But it's that old joke, you know. No, I won't say that. But
not the light bulb joke.
Oh, yeah, I will go on. I say, you know, it's that, you know, how many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? It only takes one, but it's more important. It's whether the light bulb wants to change.
Yeah.
You know, how many life coaches does it take? It is really about whether people want to change, and for some people, that change is too scary.
Yeah.
And they're too invested in how it is for them right now. There are lots of benefits to being in whatever situation we're in, and sometimes those benefits outweigh what the change will bring. And you have to respect people with that. So I don't see it as a failure. I see it that they're not ready, that they're not willing, and I try and leave it in a way that leaves it open, so that if the time comes when they feel that they are ready, then they're able to take those steps, either with me or with somebody else, you know. But it's about finding the right person.
Yeah. Okay. And are there people who have you know, serious, say, a psychiatric illness or, you know, medical conditions that it just, life coaching is just not suitable for them and they need a different kind of help?
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare. But yes, if I feel that someone needs that kind of psychological therapy support, then I will tell them that that's what I think that they need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned earlier about I can't remember how it came up, but about the mind-body connection. And I know that's something very close to your heart. You know, it's something that you've evolved over time, helping people to recognise that, and you bring that into your mindful movement workshops. So can you just explain a little bit about that? You know, about, I mean, I guess we all know that, you know, sometimes the way we think makes us feel sluggish or ill, or, you know, affects our body, and the other way around. But how does a mindful movement workshop help with that?
Yeah. So I tend to think of the mindful movement workshops as an opportunity for me to introduce people to the possibility of coaching. And one of the things that I bring to coaching is that is kind of one of my unique selling points, I think, is this kind of embodiment thing, this mind-body connection, which is really what embodiment is. And, you know, with all my years of martial arts and yoga and meditation and all kinds of stuff, I feel very embodied, and I'm very physical and aware of how my body feels, and with that comes a connection with the emotions and so on and so forth. So there's this kind of connection with that, in that, you know, the emotions are an important part of your coaching tool set, and your ability to be able to develop and evolve and really have an awareness of where you are in any given moment. So what I look at on the mindful movement workshops is things like relaxation, things like breathing, things like giving you tools that allow you to be able to tap into much more of your awareness, which tend to be things that people like to steer clear of. just because they feel uncomfortable and they feel challenging. And very often people don't connect with that at all. You know, we live a very sedentary lifestyle generally. And the more we spend time sat at computers and the body doesn't move, the more disconnected we become from the mind and the body. So the mindful movement is about trying to reintroduce that connection. And then with that, you start to connect into all this other stuff that the body can provide for you. So feelings, sensations, emotions, intuition, awareness at a much deeper level, sort of making intuitive leaps and things like that. And then we find that we've got a much richer, much more fertile ground to work on from a coaching perspective.
Right.
So by doing the mindful movement stuff, I try and gently introduce that to people so that they've got a starting point if they feel that they want it, and I can go as deep as they want to go with that.
Okay, so that can be an introduction to coaching, but it's not with you, yes, yeah, but it's not necessarily a prerequisite.
It's not a prerequisite, but it is a kind of a gentle introduction. Get to know me, get to know a little bit about coaching, and more importantly, to get to know themselves. So it's all about, reflecting it back to, to the person so that they have a better sense of themselves and their awareness and what they're capable of.
Okay, good. So just to recap, what we've covered is that usually people come to you because they feel stuck. They want to make some changes in their lives. They don't necessarily want to go into all the reasons why they are the way they are. But they just want to move on from where they are to achieve different things in their life, and that's more than possible.
Yes.
Without having to go back through their history and family and all that kind of stuff. That they're in charge of the timescales and how quickly they progress. And if they want to get out, they can get out. There's no there's no problem. You're not going to make them carry on with coaching, even though they don't want to. No. And that a really, really nice and easy way to be introduced to all of this is by coming to one of your mindful movement workshops.
Yes.
Okay, good. So is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, and I think the thing, so coaching, the word coaching, there's sports coaches, there's business coaches, there's, the word coaching now has got quite a broad thing. So just to say that what I do is life coaching, and a very particular type of life coaching, which is what is known as transformational life coaching. So it's very much about working with the whole person rather than just working on the goals and trying to achieve their goals. It's about looking at people's goals, yes, because we want tangible results from the coaching, but it's also taking into account the person as a whole, and how one area of your life is connected in some way to another area, a different area of your life. I always think of it like a jigsaw puzzle. So if you change the shape of one of your jigsaw pieces, then another jigsaw piece has to change shape as well so that it fits together. Yeah. And so these things are all interrelated. And also that patterns of behavior tend to show up in one area of your life, but it'll also appear in another area of your life. So we are not, like we were talking about before, your work affects your relationship with your partner and with your children. And the same thing of, the way you show up in relationships, say, for example, if there's a confrontational thing that you're having to deal with, the way you deal with that at home will be similar to the way you might deal with that at work, because the way you look at confrontation is similar. Yeah. So if that is not functioning well, if that's not giving you the results that you want, then by looking at the way that you deal with that and looking at your perspectives and looking at your mindsets, you can shift that. And then suddenly you're dealing with your confrontations in your personal life much better. You're dealing with the confrontation in your business life much better. And so you end up with better outcomes. So coaching the whole person is a very important part that I want to make clear to people.
Yeah, okay. That all sounds fantastic. And I think, you know, most people would agree that in order to be successful in life in any way, shape or form, you have to understand how other people work, because we all have to deal with other people. And in order to do that, you really have to understand yourself first. So, you know, it seems to me that is such a great way to approach anything to do with coaching. You know, it's an insight into how you work and how other people work as well, and it can only help.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, David. As always, a fascinating conversation. I know you and I can go on for hours about this, but we'll close the interview off now. And as I said earlier, we'll put all of your details on the page with the video, so that anyone who wants to get in touch with you can either, you know, find out about the mindful movement workshops, or how to come and talk to you. You know, just have a chat about the possibility of coaching. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Anne. That was great.